Our next panelist is Katie Kurtz. I'm happy to say that she's a graduate of CCA's own Visual and Critical Studies program. Her thesis seems to have been a very hot topic. It was called Global Warming is Hot, and it's a very incisive study of the different elements that came into the environmental movement, the relation between green and environmentalism. She's presently a development officer for the Student Conservation Association, which is a national nonprofit organization dedicated to cultivating the next generation, hopefully, of environmental stewards. And she works in the area of visual eco-criticism as well. Katie's going to talk today about a topic that I had some trouble writing down, which shows how subtle it is. I kept on asking, what was that title again? So it's How Green, with a capital G, and Green, with a small green, became green in quotation marks, dealing with the early Green movement and the Green Party in the 70s and related topics. So thank you, Katie, for joining us.
It's good to be back. So yeah, how green and green became green. I completed the Visual and Critical Studies program in May of 2007. My thesis project, as Joseph mentioned, Global Warming is Hot, Branding Green in the Age of Climate Change, examined how green became entrenched in the mainstream media and advertising as a code word for everything environmental. My inquiry was motivated primarily by this question, which was, how do we depict nature in a global warming world? I'm guessing that the word green will be used a lot over the course of this weekend and this conference, but what exactly does green mean? Over the past few years, the indiscriminate application of green in the media, across industries, as well as in the environmental and sustainability sectors, make it difficult to determine its authenticity. Does green signal an action or a set of values? Is it a lifestyle or a necessity? Is it easy being green, or is green the new black? I thought I would help lend green some historical context and talk today about the past few decades of environmentalism in the US and focus specifically on the roots of green, so to speak. While its definition remains malleable, perhaps the most prominent feature of the current green is that it maintains the status quo of consumerism. Green is used to market a lifestyle wherein consumers can still consume, just less wastefully. Lost in the green spectacle are prior environmental commitments to preservation and conservation that, despite their own set of problems, sought to protect the environment rather than sell a product. The new green also departs from the call of the 90s to reduce, reuse, and recycle, instead promoting an agenda that benefits corporations and consumers alike. What are the consequences of this shift, though? Any history of environmentalism in the US is complicated by the often competing tracks of its development: conservation, preservation, deep ecology, sustainability, environmental justice, ecofeminism, and so on. Politics represented among the groups reflect a spectrum of values, from conservative to radical, deep to shallow ecology, and now light to dark green. This is true. Another significant factor framing the environmental debate are legislative actions such as the Wilderness Act of 1964 that define what is and subsequently what is not nature, or at least nature to be protected. Tracing a linear, comprehensive, all-inclusive history that adequately addresses the many people, organizations, and events contributing to what we understand as environmentalism right now is near impossible, as motivations vary among all the constituencies. Disagreements about tactics run from mild to extreme, resulting in schisms between groups. However, what the complexity of American environmentalism demonstrates more than anything is an increasing awareness that humans cause environmental damage and that mitigation is necessary, whatever form it takes. Our view of planet Earth was changed forever, quite literally, in 1968. It was the end of a politically and culturally tumultuous year, with the assassinations of Robert F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr., the escalation of the Vietnam War and of the protests against it, the Paris student uprising, and riots at the Democratic National Convention. On Christmas Eve of '68, people gathered around their television sets to watch live coverage from Apollo 8 space mission. The black and white image they saw on their screen was a 3/4 view of the Earth suspended over the vanishing horizon line of a pockmarked lunarscape. It was the first time people had ever seen this view of the Earth, and at the time there was speculation about how this image held the potential to reshape how we thought about ourselves, not only in relation to the planet, but more importantly, in relation to each other. In August 1969, Life magazine hit the stands with a photo spread of the first lunar landing. By this time, the whole Earth photograph had been captured, the iconic image of Earth floating in space. 9 months later, this image was used on a flag for the first Earth Day rally in Washington, D.C. in April of 1970, and this timing has led to assertions by some that the birth of the modern environmental movement occurred at the rate of human gestation. The recent iteration of the mainstream use of green can be traced to the emerging global green movement of the 1970s and to the simultaneous rise of the global Green Party. Scholars mark the appearance of the Limits to Growth in 1972, published by the Club of Rome, a group comprising scientists, researchers, and industrialists from around the world, as one factor in sparking the movement's beginnings. The report represented the first time the committee's findings that the finite resources of the planet cannot sustain exponential population growth had been synthesized in such a comprehensive way. The debut of the green movement in the early '70s also came about when man-made environmental disasters were becoming more prominent in the news. The Cuyahoga River running through downtown Cleveland had caught fire. The effects of